Welcome back to Game Talk from the Bench. I'm your host, Drew Barreto, and today I'm here with my co-host, my uncle Andrew Barreto. And today it's mostly football. Trade deadline just wrapped up today. Um, so we'll get into that. We'll talk about NFL trade deadline, and then we'll talk about the ending of the World Series. And if there's time, we'll get into some basketball. But to start us off, big trade deadline. Obviously, a lot of teams unexpected this year, right? The Colts, big team going for it all. Some teams like the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, every year he tries to make some deals to make the Cowboys winners. And a lot of injuries. And the first deal we'll talk about it was the last deal of the day. Um, but Joe Alt got injured this past week. I believe he is done for the year. I believe it's a serious leg injury. He will be out, and so the Chargers go out and they acquire offensive lineman Trevor Penning from the Saints. Which obviously you need linemen. All right, you only have so many linemen on the team. They lost Rashawn Slater before the year started. Now they lost their first round pick from this past year. Um, and so Joe Alt is done. Trevor Penning is a former first round pick from the Saints. Obviously hasn't played well enough. He was converted from the outside of the line to the inside of the line, so we'll probably move back out. We'll see how he plays. But yeah, this was just like a kind of like a last resort slash hope for the Chargers. Try to replace all who has been great this year. Or more than great. He's been exceeding expectations. And so it's gonna be tough for them to, replace his production, but they got to do what they got to do to protect Herbert, especially while they have the chance to, try to make the playoffs and go on a little run.
Yeah, that's when Alt went down with the season-ending ankle injury. Yeah, that's a huge blow. He was having a great year so far. In his rookie. He's a rookie, right? I
I
believe he's a
believe so.
rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
And uh, yeah, 20. And so yeah, they like you said, last second kind of thing. They're just trying to get their line beefed up, for what's coming in the next few games and playoff run that they're going to make. Um, Especially if they want to. It looks like they're trying to make the run for that West there. That they got the
Yeah,
Denver
there's six
Broncos.
and three.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
they got the
they have
record,
a
and
good
they're
chance.
just they're dealing with some injuries. Like the offensive line has been just killed. The two tackles have been killed with injuries. So we'll see if they could try to make it up for it. But yeah, they're trying to they're trying to go. They believe they got the team. They made some trades. And so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, it's a tough blow for sure all, but they're just gonna have to play through it. But moving on, Cowboys. Like I said, Jerry Jones every year he tries to make Cowboys win now team. We were talking about it. They have a great offense. Their defense is just really, really bad. And now they did lose this past week. And a frustrating loss, I would say, against the Cardinals. They lost 27-17. In a game when honestly they should have won because Jacoby Brissett played. Um, Offense didn't play all too great. Had a couple fumbles, one from Jake Ferguson, one from Javante Williams. Um, like I said, defense just isn't good. So we talked about it before. They traded Michael Parsons and they got two first round picks plus Kenny Clark. Well, now he trades for Quinnen Williams. The Cowboys acquired Quinnen Williams from the Jets for a 2027 first round pick, a 2026 second round pick, and their former first round pick, Mozzie Smith, who wasn't, I believe he wasn't playing to start the year and has just not been what what the Cowboys needed. So Jerry Jones he goes out and he gets the star defensive tackle from New York to beef up that D line. Obviously to try to replace the production from Parsons. Um, and that was just one of the moves Jones made. So we'll get into the others, but that was a huge one. That was a huge one. Jets look to be sellers at the deadline, and we'll get into more trades from them as well. But technical difficulties. But yeah, we talked about Jerry Jones, the gambler, right? He's going all in. He said it today. Um, they're trying, they're in win now mode. And so they have the offense, like we said. Dak's been amazing. They have CeeDee Lamb get healthy. They have George Pickens. Javonte Williams, Jake Ferguson. The offense is great and the defense struggled, but they get a big much needed help, to say the least. And like I said, that was just one of the first moves he made. Jerry Jones also acquired linebacker Logan Wilson. Um, yeah, right here, Logan Wilson, from the Bengals, and we talked about it last week. The Bengals defense is they're bad. But Logan Wilson, he's been a staple in that defense alongside with guys like oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name, the edge rusher from the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson. But yeah, they trade him. They trade a late round pick for the veteran linebacker. So Jerry Jones making some moves to that defense in hopes it could turn out to be improved and better for them. But we'll see. I mean, they like I said, a tough loss this past week. It would have been huge if they won this game. But like as of now, they're currently 3-5-1. So we'll
Yeah.
see how. Well, I hear you now. We'll see how now. How that Cowboys defense starts to look.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think Jerry Jones is having a little seller remorse giving up on Parsons, and so he just feels like, hey, obviously they need some defensive help, because they're struggling there stopping anybody right now, especially uh, the Cardinals and their backup quarterback they had. I forgot his name, but he ended up getting the win, and all hell's breaking loose in Cowboy land. But I still don't think this is enough. They may win a couple more games, but I just don't think they're going to be in any kind of contention for to just to move forward, and they have a ways even just to get to 500, and let alone fight for a playoff spot. So they're trying. I give them that, but he's just one of those old school owners that he's still out there making moves, but some of them is just like, I think the season's over.
Yeah, yeah, but like going back to the Jets, like I said, they were sellers this deadline. They're 1-8, I believe.
Yeah.
They got nothing going for them. Um, they realistically shouldn't have won their one game, but they did. But they trade another star. They trade Sauce Gardner, who obviously he hasn't been playing well. Obviously he was great. He was unbelievable his rookie year. Hasn't been the same since, but they get a good haul for him. The Colts. We talked about the Colts. They're a powerhouse. The Colts did lose this past week against the Steelers. They kind of got dominated. Daniel Jones looked like he was back in New York, to say the least. He had a couple, not a couple. He had like four turnovers, I believe. He had a couple picks and a couple fumbles. T.J. Watt, um, just hunted him and haunted him on Sunday. But they go out and they add to the defense. They acquire Sauce Gardner from New York, um, for two first round picks and second year receiver Adonai Mitchell. Now Adonai Mitchell was the player that kind of cost them the game early in the year versus the Rams when he fumbled the ball, trying to celebrate his touchdown. Um, so yeah, they get some defensive help. The Jets are in full rebuild mode. Gardner's only 25. He just signed the 4-year extension.
Yeah.
He's a two-time All-Pro and also Defensive Rookie of the Year. Um, so we'll see how he looks. With Shane Steichen and the Colts, obviously it's a new system. We'll see. Like I said, he hasn't been playing that great. He was popping up on social media every week. Now you don't even see him. So we'll see if this change of scenery gets him back to how he was playing in college, how he was his rookie year. Um, I think it's a little much from the Colts, but I could see why that was the asking price. He's still a young player. He's all pro. Just got a decent contract. But yeah, Colts going all in. Coach Colts going all in this year with Daniel Jones at the
Yeah.
quarterback.
No, it's just more like you said already. It's just hey, they're 7-2, and they just want to continue to build on what they have right now. Took a little setback against the Steelers with like 6 turnovers or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
um, just getting hopefully Garner gets back to, like you said, the way he's played in the past. And I think this change of scenery and this winning formula that the Colts have currently, I think that'll get him going in the right place. Yeah, I like the trade for the Colts, especially, they want to continue this run, and you're going to need some shutdown defensive help. So, yeah, I think this was a plus for them. Yeah, it is a lot. What is it, two first rounders? But you just don't. I mean, they're trying to win right now. Those first rounders are what 20, 26, and 27 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
and you know,
down the
like,
line. Yeah,
yeah,
you don't know who you're gonna get. Right now,
exactly.
you know who you're getting. You're getting a young defensive back who's already been a Pro Bowler and all that stuff. So I like the trade.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for them. Like we said, they're going all in. We'll see if it pays off, and if it pays off in the future. Obviously, you can't grade the picks as soon as they happen. You have to wait until they fully go out. But the next trade we'll get into is Raiders. The Jaguars, who just played the Raiders, got a win in overtime after the Raiders 2 point conversion got batted down at the line of scrimmage. So they get a close win, but with Travis Hunter on the IR, the Jaguars acquire wide receiver Jacoby Myers from the Raiders for a fourth and a sixth round pick. Obviously, Myers' name was thrown around in the offseason of will he get traded. Even a couple of weeks ago, they discussed if he wanted to get traded. He said yes. The Raiders said no, we're not going to trade you. And now trade deadline happens. He does get traded. Um, I think it's good value for the Raiders. And I'm not just saying that as a fan. I think it's because obviously last year he was fantastic. I don't think didn't have a single drop. Obviously I kind of believe we maybe could have gotten more in the offseason. However, this year he was out a couple of games or out with injury for at least a week. Wasn't really playing like he was last year. Wasn't getting the stats up. So I think two mid to later round picks for him is great, and I think for the Jaguars, it's another receiver, especially with Brian Thomas kind of struggling this year, and like I said, with Travis Hunter going on the IR, they get themselves a 28-year-old receiver who will enter free agency. We'll see if they re-sign him, but for now, the Jaguars are currently 5-3, so they're trying to make their own playoff run, and we'll see if it pays off for them.
Yeah, good for Myers. It's another disgruntled Raiders receiver that we see leaving. Um, just I know in the beginning he had said, he's always said he wanted to be traded, but then nothing, the deal didn't get worked out, so he ended up saying, "Hey, I'm gonna play through it, let everything fall where it may." And then just more recently, said again, "I'm ready. Someone trade me now." And his wish was granted today, going to the Jaguars, who are fighting for, obviously more wins in the playoff spot. So, it's a better situation, I would think, especially since his numbers have decreased, and that's just due to the Raiders' lack of off. Um, but yeah, I like the pick for Jaguars, and right now for the Raiders, yeah, just keep giving me the draft picks. Just load up on those, and
Yeah,
hopefully, some good players come out of that.
and it's better for the Raiders too. They drafted two receivers in the past year draft, so they'll get more reps in. Obviously, they did sign Tyler Lockett. But the two rookies should get more action on the field,
Yeah.
and see what they got out of them. But yeah, but moving on, Steelers, this isn't really a trade, but the Steelers added Marquez Valdes-Scantling to the practice squad. Obviously, he's a former teammate of Rodgers. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Rodgers always trying to get his guys on the team. He's
Yeah.
just constantly getting them paid. But like I said, I brought it up earlier. Cowboys, it was the first trade of the day. They got Logan Wilson. But previous trades, um, yesterday, Baltimore traded for Titans edge rusher Jamont I think it's Jamont Jones. He's a 28-year-old. He's racked up 4.5 sacks to start the year. And yeah, I mean, like we said, Ravens they're in back-to-back wins. They got Lamar back healthy. Obviously, they're missing their star defensive tackle for the year, so they get some more pass rushing help. Only for a fourth round pick. Obviously, Tennessee, one of the worst teams in the league. Just trying to still on that rebuild, right? They're still trying to see, you know, Cam Ward is that guy. Obviously, it's tough when your team's really bad, but they're just trying to build up the draft stock, and build around him.
Yeah, that's again, just a team not giving up yet. They're what 3-5. They're 3-5. Like you said, they've won a couple in a row. They got their MVP back, and it just making some moves here to hopefully make a run themselves. And That's what it seemed like the trade deadline was for me, is like the guys who are still, trying to, get some wins and go farther along in the as the year goes on, and with the playoff push. Those are the teams that made moves. And teams that were not are far from it, like the Jets. They ended up saying, "Hey, I'm taking calls. Who do you want? Tell me what you'll give up," and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a few teams around the league that I thought, would be more sellers, especially with the injury to Jaden Daniels. I thought the Commanders would try to shop around a couple guys. Obviously the Bengals, I know they just had a tough loss. I thought they would shop around a couple guys. They still haven't dealt Trey Hendrickson. So yeah, there's a few teams around the league that, you'd feel like, should sell. Obviously didn't. But another team that sold a little bit was the Dolphins. And Howie Roseman, GM of the Eagles. I mean, they won a Super Bowl. They've won actually a couple Super Bowls in the past 10 years for a reason. That's because this guy continues to make deals. He continues to try to improve his team, and that's what he did. They are lacking some pass rush. To say the the least. It's not as good as it was last year. Obviously, Zadarius Smith retired. They obviously Brandon Graham came out of retirement, but they traded for Jalen Phillips um, from the Dolphins. So they sent a third rounder. Obviously Phillips he is coming off an Achilles injury from last year, but with Nolan Smith recovering from injury and Brandon Graham still coming out of retirement, it was a need for pass rush. And then Vic Fangio's defense, he should thrive in Philly. He'll get a lot of opportunity. He'll get a lot of playing time. And for Miami, it's another struggle year. They're just trying to build up some draft capital and try to flip things around. And we'll see. Miami will probably make more moves in the offseason with Tyreek once he gets healthy from his injury. But yeah, that's big moves
Yeah,
from the guys in Philly.
these teams who are, like I said, these teams who are not making much noise in the NFL. Yeah, I think they're doing what they should. That's my opinion. I think they should just be sellers. Let some of their players, just let them get back to playing at a higher level and competing for something, rather than more draft picks. And we'll see. Already calling it the year and saying we'll wait till next year. Let them have a run at some winning some games and some playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the only move Howie Roseman made. He acquired two cornerbacks. He acquired Michael Carter the second from the Jets, and he also acquired Jair Alexander from the Ravens. Um, because they have the offense, right? Jalen Hurts has been great. The offense starting to find some rhythm. They still have um Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. They traded for Tank Bigsby earlier. He had a big week against the Giants last week. Um, because they had their bye week this past week, but previous week he had a big week. But yeah, they're just trying to get that defense right. They're just trying to you know, trying to go back to back, right? Yeah, they're trying to go back to
And
back.
AJ Brown didn't move, right? He's still
No, AJ Brown's still an Eagle.
he's still there.
Yeah, it's good that he's still there. I mean, I don't see the reason why they should have traded them. I mean, yeah, the
I
offense
think the
struggled to
owner
start
said
the year.
he's just too valuable. I think that's what the
Yeah,
owner ended up saying. He's too valuable. I mean, he'd be disgruntled, but
I mean, if you watch the
uh,
Super Bowl, him and Devontae Smith were huge. I mean, the
yeah,
deep ball presence is just huge for Jalen Hurts, especially because I think Jalen Hurts has really good deep ball. They just need to find it, right? Like I said, the offense is starting to come together. They're coming off the bye week. We'll see how they look, but yeah, I think he's just too valuable for them to trade. Especially, I don't think you'd get the right value for him, especially with the current contract he has. But yeah, just the Eagles continue to make moves, trying to go back to back, trying to create, their dynasty, and compete with the Chiefs. But High Roseman continues to make moves, and it's what most GMs should be looking for. But another trade I want to talk about, and it'll probably be the last trade we talk about, because all these other ones are kind of small. And we've talked about them in the past, but Seattle. Seattle played on Monday Night Football against the Commanders, and obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba was playing. However, the first three touchdowns were scored by guys I did not know who they were.
yeah.
The first guy, his last name was Horton or Holton, one of the two.
Yeah,
He
I think
scored the
it's
first two
Horton.
touchdowns. I think this guy named Cody White, he scored one of the touchdowns. I don't know. They needed receiver help. And so they did. They went out and they traded for Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. I believe they sent a fourth and a fifth round pick to New Orleans for him. This guy's a great deep threat. He's a great deep threat. He can get down the field. He's fast. I think he'll be a great complement to JSN. And it's another weapon for Sam Darnold. We talked about this not the Eagles. We'll talk about the
Yeah.
Seahawks. They're one of the better teams in the NFC. Offense is thriving with Sam Darnold. Like we talked about, defense continues to get the job done. So now they continue to add more offensive help, and they're trying to make their run at the playoffs as well. And so we'll see how it is.
Yeah, there's 6-2. I'm looking at this right here, the conference NFC. Number 3 seed right now as it currently sits. And yeah, Sam Darnold 24, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. He just demolished the Commanders there on that game Sunday. And yeah, if he's getting more added wide receiver help, I mean, I could just imagine what he's doing. Um, yeah, they're just really, yeah, it's a scary team right now. To play. So I think, and if I'm not mistaken, they're number 1 in their division,
I
which
think the
is
Rams are right. Are the Rams are number 1?
actually now I'm looking at it. They're both 6-2.
Yeah,
Niners
they'll probably
Niners
tied.
are 6-3, and it looks like everyone's in that division. Cardinals are 3-5. They just won one. Seahawks, Rams have a streak of 3 wins in a row. So they're just winning in the NFC West. But Seattle right now is they have them atop probably by some points or something.
It's all 6-3 because I know the Niners beat the Seahawks week 1. So, but yeah, it's a battle for first place in that. All 3 teams, unless a collapse by the Niners, like they just lost this past week to the Texans. Unless a big collapse from the Niners, I think all 3 of those teams are easy makes for the playoffs. And so we'll see which one comes out on top of the NFC West.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a battle to the end of the year to see who will come out on top of that division. But that is all for the NFL trade deadline. There was I believe it was a historic trade season. Most 25 players were traded this year. Obviously a lot of smaller name players, some big names that we got into, but more smaller name guys, more smaller trades that happened before the trade, but happened previously, not today. Um, but moving on. World Series wrapped up this past weekend. Halloween and Saturday, this past Saturday, World Series wrapped up, and I just wanted to say this was a great World Series to watch. Back and forth. Game 6 was on Halloween. Blue Jays had a chance to win it. They had runners on third and second, no outs in the bottom of the ninth, and they just got a quick pop up and then a double play to end the game, which sent it to Game 7. And Game 7 was all Blue Jays. It looked like they were going to win. Had the 4-3 lead heading into the bottom of the ninth. Jeff Hoffman gets the first out. And then he throws back-to-back sliders to Miguel Rojas on a full count, and he takes him yard to tie the game. That sent it to 4-4. And then in extras, Will Smith, who consistently showed up in the postseason in the World Series. He got a hold of one off Shane Bieber. He took it to deep left, and the Blue Jays fell short. Couple small plays, and the Blue Jays just couldn't get the job done. And the Dodgers go back to back. And this was heartbreaking for the Blue Jays because obviously they were a great team this year. They had a better record than the Dodgers. Obviously they're a little bit of a small market team. They did sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to the extension this past off season, but it was tough because they played they played one great series, and not just one great series. They played phenomenal in the postseason, and they just had the opportunities to win, and they just fell short.
Yeah, you'd be proud. I tuned in at the 7th inning, and the Blue Jays were up. It was 4-2. I was like, oh wow, let me tune into the rest. There's like a few more innings left. Let me tune in, and sure enough, Dodgers end up hitting, a couple home runs there.
Yeah.
Muncy hit one in the eighth, and then Rojas hit that huge one in the ninth. And I go, now they're tied 4-4 going into extra innings. And then, like you said, Smith ended up getting the game winning home run. But it was also the head coach. He made some good moves as well. I mean, he ended up putting in that center fielder,
Yeah. He put in
Pages, I think,
Pajes
and
defensively.
and
He made a
sure
big
enough, it's like
catch.
that was a huge catch because that was going to go off the wall, and it looks like
Yeah.
the other guy Hernandez was losing it, and Pages just comes up and jumps over him
Yeah.
and
Knocks him
catches
down.
that ball at the highest. It knocked him down, got
Looked
and
like he
then
looked
that
like
was
a
just
receiver
something.
going up for a catch.
Exactly,
He
yeah.
caught at the highest point. Yeah, he made a big defensive play, and then they went with Yoshinobu Yamamoto to close the game. He gave him 3 innings, um, to
It,
end.
even Rojas had bases were loaded for the Blue
Yeah,
Jays. Rojas had he had the I don't know, it wasn't the liner, but he had a ground ball come right to him, and
and
I
he
thought
was
he was
able to
going to
make the
screw it up, but he
yeah he
ended
was able to make
up,
the throw out at
kind
home.
of, yeah, he made the throw out at home, and so there was a couple big defensive plays
Yeah,
there in addition to the 3 home runs.
and
So
it's kind of ironic because earlier in the series they were struggling defensively. They were getting silly errors and this and that, and then obviously can't comes to the biggest game, and then their defense showed up. Like you said, Rojas made a lot of crucial plays. In games 6, he made a big double play in game 6, and then in game 7 he made the throw out. And then Pajes made the catch in the left center. So yeah, the defense showed up when it mattered the most, and gave the offense enough innings to score enough runs, and Blue Jays
that's all she
just
wrote. And then
yeah, that's all she
Yamamoto
wrote.
did his thing. He did his thing, right? He did
Yamamoto, and I'm
his
glad they gave him the
Madison
MVP.
Bumgarner.
Yeah,
He did his
not as
Madison
good as
Bumgarner.
Madison Bumgarner, but he was
Oh yeah,
great. He was
yeah.
great. And I'm glad he won the MVP. I thought
Yeah.
no player on the Dodgers was better than him. I think even as in the playoffs as a whole, I think he was undoubtedly their MVP. To throw 2 complete games, one in the World Series, one in the NLCS. I mean, that's just incredible. He was just fantastic. Willing to go in to the 19th inning if it did in Game 3, and then coming in on no days of rest after pitching 6 innings and like going 100 pitches the day before, and then coming in to give your team the save and the win. I mean, he was just unreal. I mean, the Blue Jay, no one in the playoffs were able to get to him. Um, and he ultimately, like I said, deserved that's a World Series MVP. And so I'm glad he got it. No,
Yeah.
like I said, he was the biggest reason they won the series.
Yeah, it was like a no question kind of thing. Everybody knew it already, and I know the Otani is like one of the first people that you say on the Dodgers. You go, oh, he must be him. You start going to the main offensive players, but yeah, no, he was unbelievable, and that wasn't given to them. It was a fight to the seventh, to the final, to extra innings
Yeah.
and game 7. So yeah, it was, and you hear a lot of people talking, is this the best World Series in years? I mean, I haven't been paying attention much, but for me, that was pretty exciting. I'd have to
Yeah,
say
it was
that.
a good World Series. In past years, maybe I know last year wasn't great. The year before that with the Rangers and the Diamondbacks wasn't great. The year before that between the Phillies and the Astros, it was okay. But yeah, this in like the past 5 years, it was definitely the best. Within the last decade, I don't know if it was the best, but it was definitely a fantastic series to watch. Like I said, back and forth, extra innings. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more from this series. So well, it was nice to watch. It was fun. Um, and now the Dodgers they have their dynasty now, right? They won 2020, they won last year, they won this year. Now they're gonna look for the three-peat. We'll see if they could do it. But yeah, it was the first time in 25 seasons for a team to go back to back, um, and win or to win the World Series. So we'll see what things have in store. Obviously, now new season has started. I know moves are being made today. A lot of people opting out, opting into their contracts. People already getting traded. So Yeah, MLB offseason will technically begin, but we'll get more into that in our next episode. But before we end, we'll talk a little bit of NBA news, a little bit of injury news. First thing, Zion, he'll be sidelined with the left hamstring strain. He'll be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. Thunder starting the season 7-0. They're avoiding the championship hangover. LaMelo Ball, he's out with ankle injury. Obviously he's dealt with a lot of lower leg injury, so hopefully this isn't long term. He's obviously one of the most, I think he's one of the most electric players, or yeah, electric would be the word, but he's like one of the most fun players to watch out there doing what he does, especially when you're on the Hornets and you got nothing to lose. Um, Definitely fun player to watch. Jared McCain is set to make his debut tonight, actually. Tuesday the 4th, so I don't have my Apple Watch on me. Jared McCain's supposed to return for the Sixers, so we'll see how he looks with VJ Edgecomb, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George when he comes back, and then Joel Embiid. Um, let's see, any other injuries? I don't believe. Obviously, Doncic still out. Austin Reeves missed the game. But yeah, we're still early in the NBA season. Obviously, we're only in like week two, 2.5. So not much to
And
talk about
The
yet.
Suns end up handing the Spurs their first loss of the season, and I actually was watching a little bit of that game, and the Suns were, uh, I think it had to do with a lot of bad shooting for the Spurs too. Like no one was,
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I think I saw this one. B only had like 9 points. He had like
yeah,
6 turnovers. Yeah, it was a bad game from the Spurs. But yeah, and I know another couple guys. I know my guy Klay Thompson. He's struggling out there in Dallas as of now. Who else is not playing good? I know
yeah,
Boston just got their first win. Giannis hit a game winner
just the
over.
Mavericks in general too. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mavericks in general, they're 2-5, and just trying to get things together, especially with you got a rookie there, and if you watched a little bit of him playing, you're like, oh yeah, you're a rookie because he's just I've seen him enter the game, make a couple mistakes, and then you got to come out and you got coach be wrong there. So yeah, that's what you expect from young guy like that, Cooper Flag. And yeah,
yeah.
they're struggling right now.
He's only 18. He's got
Yeah,
a lot to learn.
you got to remember
Obviously
that. Yeah,
they're without Kyrie to start the year. So we'll see how that goes. But another thing I want to talk about, Miles Turner returned to Indiana last night. Um, and he got booed. Obviously he spent 10
did he
years
get booked?
there. He got booed. He said it was tough because he gave his heart, he gave his blood, sweat, his tears, he took sacrifices and things like that. But however, though, he after obviously for one, he didn't show up at all in the finals. He played really bad in the finals. Two, was talking trash about Tyrese Halliburton on someone's podcast. I can't remember what. And anyways, he basically just like disregarded the franchise after leaving. Obviously like I said, they got the win. The Bucks got the win last night. Giannis hit a game winner, but yeah, I mean, when you're yeah, he was there for 10 years, but I don't know. Do I think he deserved the booze? Maybe. Um,
They know all that more than us, so maybe they already
yeah,
knew that he was just kind of talking his way out of town, And it looks like he didn't show up last night either. 32 minutes, 9 points. Luckily, he's
yeah,
got Giannis,
Giannis.
one of the best players in the league on his team, and he had a little fadeaway jumper at the buzzer there to get the win, and to Bucks are 5-2. Looking good so far, but like you say, it's still early in the season. Pacers are 1-6, and unfortunately, that one
Yeah,
came
and
against the Warriors
came against the Warriors, and that's what happens every time. If
every
there's a
time.
struggling team in the league, or if a team's
Yeah,
dealing with a lot of injuries and they're playing the Warriors, just mark it
uh,
down. If you're betting on
that's
anyone,
it.
and bet on them against the Warriors, because that's what happened.
Yeah,
Some guy, I forgot his name. I think his name was Quentin Jackson. I don't know. He had 25 points, 10 assists. Um, Aaron Neesmith had I don't want to say, was it a
yeah.
career high? Might have been a career high. I don't know. It was like 26 points. Um, yeah, so if your team is struggling, or if you got a lot of injuries and a lot of backups are playing, and they're playing the Warriors, I'd bet on another team and
Mhm.
bet the Warriors to lose because that's what seems to happen. Um,
Yeah, Nate Naismith got 31.
there we go, 31. Yeah,
He
see,
hit
like,
31 and they
and
they
then the
hit
next game, I believe he had
114.
12. And then the next game, believe he had 12, and the Quinn Jackson guy had like 9. So it's like,
They went
yeah,
back to normal after that game. Yeah, because Quinn Jackson here is 25 and 31 for Naismith. Siakam, which I mean, I'm just used to him doing that. He had 27 that game. And yeah, like you said, I think they're back to normal today.
yeah. If you just yeah, everyone sees the Warriors and they think they're back in their prime, but yeah, so everyone's got their Warriors marked on their calendar to have a good game.
Right,
But
right.
that is all for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I like to thank my co-host, my uncle, for joining me today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. Constantly getting videos out, constantly getting episodes out weekly on Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, turn your notifications on to get notified when we get our episodes out. And one last time, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, stay ready.